Hi, it's Karen Linsky going solo today on the Simply Human YouTube and podcast channels. Now, Christina is celebrating her birthday this weekend, and we usually tape on the weekend. So I told her I would do it and I would go alone. And I just wanted to share with you the topic that we chose, reframing, is something that's totally dear to my heart. And I'm just so honored to share with you some of the things that I learned about reframing. And I'm hoping that if you heard a little bit about it when we introduced it earlier, you might get a deeper dive into it than we've had in the past because it's really a really useful skill. So I feel like it's really transformed my own life. Before I begin, remember that what we try to primarily do on this podcast and YouTube is share those day-to-day challenges that we face as individual human beings with the focus of the knowledge, skills, and strategies that will help you feel more confident and gain individual interpersonal strength and resilience. So let me talk about reframing. What reframing really is, the formal definition is changing the way you interpret a situation or experience so you can alter its meaning and its impact. So it's usually turning a negative perspective that you might have and it's taking you down like a negative perspective, another negative story, and turning it into a more constructive one. So I would even say for me, the way I would explain reframing to my clients is it allows you to expand the way you're seeing something. So initially you're seeing something a certain way, right? So you're seeing it this way. And then what ends up happening is when you reframe it, you're actually seeing it from a different perspective. But more importantly, you're expanding the way that you see it. That's what I love about expanding, because the story that you've told yourself when you first do it, it's not like seeing every part of the whole story. That's the whole point of it. So if you think about when you take a picture and you look into the camera, you see a smidgen. There's so much more going on in that whole story that you're missing, that you're taking a picture of. You're focused on just your family, but maybe you're going to expand it more because you're seeing other things. And the ability is to expand the whole story so that you can actually see it for really what all that was there. Okay. Instead of it focusing on just that one piece that you want to interpret, that your body wants, your mind wants to interpret, that is all about you and your defenses from your lizard brain that is helping you think through that, oh my gosh, they're talking about me. Oh, it's about me. The idea is to put that aside and to think what is possible. What is the expansion of the story that you could have? So let me tell you a little bit about the science behind reframing, which usually Christina does. So bear with me here. What I love about the science is why reframing is so important is because it actually allows you to build new habits, new ways of seeing things. It expands your way of viewing a situation so that it creates a new way of looking at it in the future, a more positive way, because it expands so that you have an old neural pathway to a new neural pathway. It also allows you to reframe, to regulate emotions. And again, that is how we perceive a challenge, so that when we have a negative emotion, we can actually dramatically go into the more positive emotion. We don't go down and get stuck. It also reduces stress because think about it. A lot of the situations that we have, it allows us to make the stressful situation into a more manageable and less threatening way. And the last part of it I really love, it actually allows us to develop on allowing us to build more resilience and optimism in life. And that's what happened to me. It brought a lot of positive intention again. I realized that when I was looking at a certain story, it would end up that I had that point of view, right? Oh, gotta get this right. Point of view that would limit and take me down that negative pathway because I was always full of anxiety, always scared, always nervous, always want to protect myself. That's that lizard brain. And when I could get out of there and unfreeze myself, I could let my new brain take over, and that would allow me to even be more creative and expansive and be who I truly am. Right. And so that's the power of reframing. So let me tell you something that I think is interesting that I was thinking about today, where reframing is something that gives you the skill to integrate and digest what has happened without judging, without going immediately to that, oh my gosh, what happened? But allows you more to get into that positive intention, which is what it's all about. Bring in that curiosity and positive intention is really what reframing allows you to do. So, what I would say is it's really important to do reframing that you do the following steps. One is remember when you actually have that anxiety, you can feel it in your body, is to just know that this discomfort is normal. That's being a human. What happens next is you try to relax it. Now, remember the previous exercise that we talk about all the time about unclenching. So you take a deep breath and then you just unclench. That's the one where we're talking about the snipers use in order to be less stressed. I love that unclenching. You can also just take your fingers and do this. And that will allow also your mind to think about something other than what you're thinking about, which allows you to relax your body a little bit more. When you can, you'll relax your body. And then what I want you to do is lean into curiosity and then also assume the positive intention. What you're trying to do is, that's the most powerful way, is go into this third person observation for yourself. Now, one way that's most powerful about reframing that has helped me is I imagine that it's a good friend with me. And I imagine, like Christina is, or my other friends. And what I do is I think about them. What would they tell me? Now, some friends are better at this than others, I have to admit. Or what you could imagine is a third person type of situation where you're outside of your body and you're observing what's happening. And I ask you, if you are coaching your own self, what are some of the other possible reasons why someone said what they said that you're reacting to? Or what are some of the reasons why what happened may occurred? It wasn't necessarily about you. That's the thing we got to remember. In reframing, it's the ability to think, what if it wasn't me? What are all the other possible stories that could have happened? Like, for example, I think that this whole story regarding when I was applying for a lot of jobs, applied for tons of jobs, right? And I got rejected, right, left, right, left, right. And then when I started to reframe, instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I thought I was perfect for that job. Oh my gosh, right? I forget that it's not necessarily about me. I just didn't have the right skill sets that they were looking for. Another candidate did. Instead of focusing on just what happened to me, I was able to open up the story so it included other people that were competing for the job. And that allowed me to reframe it. So that I felt much better, that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get a job. I didn't go down there. It just wasn't my time. And when I started to reframe it, I feel even when I was applying to jobs, I was even more thoughtful. So it helped me deal with the situation even better because I had less rejections because I wasn't applying to many, but it was also making sure the fit was perfect or better, I should say. And I told that to my other clients too, who've been looking for jobs and things like that. And that has helped them because I think they're just rejecting me, but they're not rejecting me because of who I am. They're rejecting me, not even rejecting me. They're just saying, you're not right for my role because this other person is. And so that made me feel so much better. Or think about this reframe, right? When this is something I used the other day at a workshop that Christine and I developed together, which was a lot of us are very good at having checklists, right? Not me, but a lot of people are good at having the checklist, and they love taking off the checklist. And when they don't complete a checklist or a lot of their checklist that they've actually written down, they feel as though they're just not able to achieve their job. They're just not happy. Okay. When we brought this up to this team, it was interesting because I reframed this as they weren't happy because they had all of these different interruptions, and the interruptions really bothered them because they saw it as ways not to get their things done that they're expected to get done, the things that they wrote on the checklist. And so it's interesting because they had a checklist of 10 things, they get done 3. But because their leader, a manager, so they had all these people coming by, they had another email, they had their boss call them, all these unexpected events. When you really rethink about this, then the reframing allows you to realize that the interruptions are actually the ones on the list that were quote unquote what I would call invisible. Because every single day, every single one of us have things that go or happen that's unexpected. Never a day have I had everything work out the way I wanted it to. Some days I have more majority, some days I have disruptions. But the point of it is when you have those unexpected things, that's part of what you know has to show up on your list because that's part of your day. So once I show them the fact that in Reframe, this is those things that were unexpected that were bothering you actually are part of what should be on your checklist. Because if you take one of those things that bothered you that you had to address right now, I asked them, so was there value in addressing that? Did you accomplish something? So instead of focusing on what they accomplished, they focused on it wasn't on their list. And that's the reframe I gave them. Hopefully this makes sense. But what I loved about it is when they said, wow, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. Because those little reframes, when you can open up the aperture, it allows you to see it in a point of view, not focusing on the negative, but what other possibility stories there are. And that's all we're asking you to do is be curious as to what are some of the other stories that are happening? What else could be going on in that situation? And that's the beauty of that. And the third one I think is really important is that when you reframe, that you write it down or you really take that moment to say, wow, and make that reframe stick. So how do you make that reframe stick? What I tell my clients to do is put it on a Post-it, whatever the reframe is. So reframe for me, for that story I told you earlier about rejection, is that it was not meant for me. The job was not meant for me. And when I wrote those words down, it helped me out to see the situation again until I got used to that. And now it's just second nature. So I don't even get stressed over when I get a rejection anymore. So that's kind of what I love about reframing. Reframing is a simple skill. If you can just put yourself in that third person objective. But when you can actually ask yourself, what other possible stories are there? It just adds so much. And to realize that we see things through funneled eyes, really distinctly, like you're looking through binoculars. But if you can open up that aperture and see so much more and get yourself away from, focusing on yourself, it makes a big difference. Because when I focus on other people and the recruiter, that's what helped me on the rejection. So I really hope you enjoyed this deep dive on reframing. I look forward to having you send some comments down below that which we'll respond to. I also hope that you'll give us a like, send it to other people that you know of. But again, reframing is a really tremendous tool to learn. And it's just a matter of sitting back and taking the time to practice it and really asking yourself, what else could be going on? Until next time.